Hello, my loves, and welcome back to another episode of Tea with Tui, where we are diving into the topic of past lives. Now, this came up for you in your reading, didn't it, Amanda?
Yes, it did. And when we discussed, oh, this would be a juicy topic for the podcast, I really had to sit with this one and think, what on earth am I going to ask you about past lives? Because pretty much up until you and I discussed this, I had never even heard of this before. Like,
Yeah.
I am a virgin at past lives. So I didn't really even know what to ask you today. But it did come up in my reading, and I have so many questions about what happened and where to even go with this.
I love it. Dive head on. What's the first burning question that comes to mind?
Okay, well, before we talk about my reading and my experience of what you shared with me, I'd love to ask you just a blanket question for anyone who has no idea what a past life is, like me. What is a past life?
Okay, I love it. So, I'm going to try and get technical without being technical, but you know how when we are no longer on this earth, we leave our physical body on the earth and our soul goes to heaven? Well, our soul has its own little unique journey, and that soul is who we are in our essence. That is who we are. The soul comes to earth because earth is one of the schools in this great big universe, metaverse, omniverse, however far you want to take it. And the soul is always looking to grow, expand, and learn. Here on earth, we're here to learn about the heart. So, all things relationships, all things emotions. And it is one of the hardest spaces to be in, one of the hardest schools, but I love it. Earth is actually one of my favorite schools of all existence.
Just simply having a human experience
Mhm.
here at this Earth school. I have heard these terms before. Would you say that they are not actually just sort of like woo-woo terms? They are, in fact, actually truth.
Yes, yeah. In fact, what I love about how slow but how more advanced science is right now is that, yeah, there's a lot of scientific evidence that this is also true. But I guess that's going to be another whole different conversation within itself that I don't really know is the place here on Tea with Tui, but more than happy to have it if the viewers want to hear about it. Maybe I'll go hunt out some
Hmm.
experts who can give you guys the scientific approach. Yeah, it's a really beautiful space where we learn all things emotions, and we come here time and time again because matters of the heart are always so intricate. They're complicated, as I'm sure many of you guys would agree. It's not black and white. Yeah.
So I guess that leads me to my next question then. Is there an infinite amount of times that we come to Earth to experience and learn all of the lessons that I want to use the word need to, but how do our souls know what we need to learn? Wow, there's two questions there.
I love it. I love it. Okay. One, yes, we can come here infinite amount of times. It does come to a point where your soul is a lot more evolved. It's been through enough experiences where we start really going into like master teachers, and we're here on earth now, not as a student as such, but as somebody who here is here to guide and mentor and make the world a better place. So there are some souls
Mm.
that come back, much like myself, who has these experiences in life to really fast pace my memory to be able to give back to the world, and really start supporting others from a very young age.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what happens when our soul has learned all of the lessons that we need to? We've reached our limit and we don't need to come back to Earth School anymore. What happens?
I don't really know that there is a limit. Earth is not the only school. There's billions and billions and billions of planets out there. And what might surprise people is that you're not always coming through as a physical form. Some, we would call them alien civilizations, they actually don't feel emotions. It's all intellectual. They don't even speak. They don't use their mouth to communicate with everybody. They speak through telepathy. There are some that are purely gas particles. So, there is so much variety out there for our soul to explore. And Earth is just one of the many, 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 many schools out there. But it is one of the hardest. Absolutely, it's one of the hardest because we're here learning not just about the mind, we're learning about the body, we're learning about the spirit, we're learning about emotions, we're learning how it interconnects into everything. And if you were born in the 80s or pre-80s, you can see even with something introduced into the world like technology, just how rapidly things can change in one generation. So
Yeah.
somebody who may experience lifetime in the 1800s is going to find this lifetime so fascinating because technology wasn't even a thing. It's so there is this sense of curiosity as well to witness and experience. And volunteers as well, we call them, who will come here to help raise the consciousness of the earth and we have some souls that are born onto this earth to take care of the animals, to take care of Mother Nature. Like, it's so interesting just within our own solar system, all the different roles in which a soul might participate to learn and grow in however way it chooses to express itself, if that makes sense. Have I gone like way too woo-woo for you, or you still on the same
Well,
page?
not for me, because I'm
Okay, great.
here for this type of conversation. Do I
Okay.
understand it? No.
Okay.
But
Well,
I love it. I
somebody's
love
not
it. I love it.
understanding
I
it.
love it. So, okay. So from that, my understanding is we don't always come back in human form. We can come back as, you mentioned alien form. We can come back as gas particle. I'm guessing we could come back as an animal.
Correct.
We
Some
can,
cultures would beg to differ, depending on your belief systems, yes. But we can also come back as elementals. We can come back as trees, as
yeah,
birds,
right.
so yeah, there's a whole assortment of choices that we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before I talk about my experience with this, I want to challenge and ask you about, so you just touched right there on um different cultures
Yes.
and what they think and believe.
Mhm.
Tell me about that, because I can only assume that a culture is derived from human form, what we created culture. We also have created different belief systems like religion and the different types of things that religion believe. And I imagine, I'm personally not a religious person myself, but I do believe that there is a higher source. I just don't know what it is. Um, I imagine that there would be people out there who would really feel challenged with your understanding of this topic.
I love that. And, maybe that's why Spirit sent you here, just to see another perspective. I really believe that there is not one size fits all. And I love the variety of what the world offers. And I think that that is the beauty about Earth, and the beauty about your free will is that you can make up your own mind. And I definitely feel like religion, culture, it's subjective to who you are and how you feel. And my recommendation is, what feels right for you? Take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. If it feels like, oh, that doesn't sit right, listen to that. Listen to that. And I really believe in making your own mind up. I really believe in
Yeah.
discernment. And and I think that it's great that we have varying opinions. I think that's awesome. I do. Like, imagine how boring the rainbow would be if it's only red. Like, the rainbow
It's
is
true.
beautiful because it has the variety of colors.
It's
And
true.
that's what I think about that subject. I don't know if that
Okay.
answers the
Yeah,
question.
yeah, that's a great analogy. And so, okay, I have heard you say, and I've heard other people who do this type of work as well say that there is no such thing as time.
Yeah.
Time doesn't exist. And to me, in this human form, you can see me, can't you? The video of this is going to be so funny. in this human form right here, that logically doesn't make sense to my brain.
Mhm.
But I'm open to the uh, perception that time doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So let's say we're here in this human form on Earth for 80 to 100 years. And to us, that feels like a really long time. What does it feel like to the soul? Does it feel quick, like overnight, or it feels the same as it feels for us here in human?
It's quick. It feels like overnight. Honestly, it feels like overnight. You know how sometimes you can go to sleep and wake up and like you know that you didn't have a dream? It's like, oh yeah, I'm up. Then there are other nights where you can have a dream and kind of remember like little snippets of it, but not really remember the whole dream. And then there are other nights where you just like the dream is so vivid and it feels so long, and you can remember all of these little minute details. That's kind of what it's like living. It's like, you know, some journeys are quick and short, others are just little pops. They're only here for a short amount of time. And then there's others that are here for a really long time, and they can go back and go, wow, you know, I was there when the queen got crowned and I got to witness her going to heaven. And it was so wild. I met my fourth generation come through, and the family is doing so well. And you know, we have it's so different. It's so different, but that's probably the best metaphor that I can give you. And then time was just created as a way to a means to keep us, I guess, safe. You know, a means to keep things going, keep things organized, having structure. But I
Mm.
love how you say it doesn't logically make sense. Spirit, I don't believe is logical. The brain is logical. Spirit
Yes. Yeah.
is, yeah.
Okay. Whew. Okay. So I feel like timeline is a whole other topic that we can talk about. But I want to for the listeners talk about my reading and what happened. So if you've listened to a past episode, you'll know that I had a reading done with Tui.
Yes.
It was the first reading I've ever had in my life. And I did talk in a little bit of detail about what came through in that reading. And a lot of what you said referred to a past version of me who was there
The
in the room with you. And this is like my literal virgin first experience of this. So where do I start? How do you know that it was me?
Oh, I love it. Okay. So at first, I didn't really know. At first, she was there. So, what can happen for me in a reading is that spirits can show up left, right, and center, behind me, wherever. Spirits are just going to appear wherever they want to appear, wherever they feel comfortable. And so, when I was tuning in with her, as I'm talking to somebody, there's typically like my room is pretty full, but organized. And when she came through, it's really important for me. I just feel as though it's a sign of respect to always acknowledge anybody who does make their way into a room. So during our session, you may have seen me say something like, there's a female that's here with us in the room. I'm not sure what she's here for or what she has to say. I will always acknowledge those who have made the journey to come into this sacred space because they're here for a reason. And imagine me not saying hello to your grandparents or somebody who's made quite the journey to come through and not actually announce them in the room. You know, it's a more of a sign of respect. Even if they don't say much, even if they're just standing there, I will always acknowledge who's in this space. And as I will talk to somebody, I simultaneously am asking them questions. So I might ask things like, who are you? Where are you from? How do you know Amanda? What are some of the things that how will she recognize you? And as I ask those kinds of questions, the spirit will start to converse with me and fill in the
Mhm.
blanks.
Right.
And
Okay. So
so
you can decipher whether it is a past life of mine or someone else.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's multiple different ways in which we can get there. Sometimes there are some people who I can see that there's blocks in this lifetime. So I'm like, okay, where do we go? There's so many different areas that we can explore. So I'll go hunt those out to try to find a solution that's going to support you in this life and that life and any other moving forward. In your unique situation, which happens sometimes, she stepped forward. So typically when I experience that happens, it's that there's a deep part of your soul that knows that there is a hurdle that needs to be mended. And I am always, as a reader, trying to find what's the most efficient and effective way of getting there. So what's the fastest way so that we don't have to spend a lifetime in struggle and pain, and we can live our best lives today, So that's typically, at least for your situation, that's actually why she was there.
Got it. Got
Yeah.
it. So when she came through, your whole demeanor changed. You said that she was very angry and she was frustrated and she was really quite forceful with you in what she was here to deliver.
Yeah.
Why
I
is that?
love that. Okay. Wanting to people like listening, when I have done a reading, people can tell me about their readings and I will hear it like I'm hearing it for the first time. It goes in one ear, straight out the other. So as you're even saying this to me, I'm like, oh wow, she came through angry. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, she's come through angry and come through quite forceful. It's a little bit of resentment sounds like. Like sometimes I'm hearing it for the first time. So that's how I feel when you're sharing this with me.
Mhm.
Um, if she was angry, bitter, or has resentment, there would be this surge of energy for her that she's like, we're not doing this again. I'm sick and tired. Like, I've learned this lesson. F the lesson. I'm not doing it again. And I'm not going to witness my future self doing that. Is sometimes what that can be, even in that timeline, we can send a wish for ourselves. We can pray for ourselves. We can, even without praying in the traditional sense that we think of, sometimes we can get so low in our own personal journeys that there is a very deep soul yearning that we will never repeat that lesson again. I don't know if you've ever experienced such pain, um, but to get to that level in the way that she appeared in your session, it would have been really painful. It would have been something like, we ain't going down that path again. Not in my lifetime, not in your lifetime, not in any other lifetime. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because so you mentioned before when a soul comes back in human form, they're here to learn so many lessons. And when they've ticked off that lesson, it's like, okay, next lesson. Why would a lesson come up and repeat?
Yeah, I love it. So we get tested. This always happens with spirit. You learn the lesson, then you get tested. Did you remember the lesson? Like, how well do you know the lesson? Right? Like when we do our times tables or something like that. I still don't know all my times tables fluently.
Nice
Shame on
girl.
me, but
Maths, no.
so, we learn them at school, but are we going to remember all of them for my job? I don't need to learn the times tables for my job. I talk to dead people for a living. Like, and it's
Yeah.
not part of my repertoire. I don't need it. So my brain is going to delete that information. On a soul level, though, sometimes we do have lessons that were really challenging for us in our previous lifetime where we get tested on it again. And some of those lessons can come in the form of like needing deep healing, needing restorative work. Some of them take, for instance, soulmates. Some of them are karmic. Some of them we can't, like the soul can't figure that stuff out on its own. It's to do with a soulmate, which means that there are two souls involved here that need to learn and coexist and co-elevate together. And you
Mm.
can only do that when your soulmate is with you. There are just some lessons that, you know, you can't do
Oof.
on your own. Yeah.
That's very interesting. So I know that you've explained to me that when you do a reading, you often don't remember what came to you and what was said. Do you remember what she was here for and what her lesson was?
I don't remember all of it. I think only because we spoke about it in the last podcast
Okay.
and she had
Okay.
hid her head in some things. Like sometimes I might remember snippets, but honestly, like I'm so grateful to spirit because they're typically the ones that will remind me. They'll put
Yeah,
a
yeah,
memory in
yeah,
my brain and go, this is what she's talking about, or this is what she's looking like, which is fantastic for me because I really feel like they're the original
yeah,
iCloud,
yeah,
especially when I'm doing repeat clients. I've thousands of clients all over the world. I can't for the life of me remember every
yeah.
single one of them, but
Of
spirit is
course.
the original OG when it comes to the iCloud. That's
Okay. That makes so much sense. Okay, so you said before about soulmates and they need to come back sometimes and actually have another soul with them to learn the lesson. So in the reading, for anyone who hasn't listened to the previous episode, you said that there was a female figure in the room, of which, by the way, you also described her from the Victorian era. And you said that you knew that because she was like super tightly wearing a corset.
yeah.
um you said she was very angry and upset, and you were doing this in the reading, you were waving your finger. She wouldn't let you move on with the reading until you had got this lesson. You established that she had once been a really light, fun, beautiful woman who was married to a lovely man. They had two children and lived on a farm. And then he unexpectedly was made to leave. And he had a very short amount of time to prepare her and teach her how to look after the farm. And she was you said she was pissed about it. Um, you gave significant details, like she had to learn how to shoot a gun, how to protect herself and her family and their property, and then he was gone. You felt like he was gone because of the war and he had no choice, and they didn't know if he was coming back, and he never came back. And eventually, she became very angry and grief stricken and never really recovered from losing her husband and having closure over why he didn't come back. Her children grew up and went off to have their own lives, and she was left alone. And essentially, her overall message was that she felt abandoned and she never moved through that grief.
Mm.
Why did she come with that message?
It will be because in this lifetime, those are the issues that you're currently dealing with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was such a big theme for her in that lifetime that in this lifetime, the soul is typically placed in a position where it kind of is remembered where it left off to feel these feelings and then overcome them or have closure with them or, transform them into love, joy, whatever that might be that the soul needs.
And the Victorian era was many eras ago. So is this the first time my soul has come back since her? Or have I done lots of lifetimes since her?
You may have done other lifetimes since her. Spirit, like I definitely feel like this may have been your first life back since then. Which honestly, if the type of grief and anger that you're talking about wouldn't surprise me. There are some souls that are very reluctant to get here. And there's some people, and I'm sure there's going to be a few podcast listeners that are like, what am I doing back
Hmm.
on earth? Like there are just some people that are in this lifetime with a really big disdain for the fact that they are here and that they are not somewhere else. There are, that's when remember how I said your soul to a certain degree has free will when you're on the other side?
Mm-hmm.
Some of you souls out there, yeah, it wasn't, you might have been coming in here stomping your feet, but there may have been unfinished business left for you that you got to clean your mess up before you go somewhere else. Just for some souls. I've met quite an interesting number of characters over the years, and yeah,
Yeah,
they're
okay.
not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. So yeah, I was curious to know, like, once your human body dies,
Yeah.
do you just immediately come back as something else? Or can there be so much time that goes by before you're ready to come back and essentially pick up where you left off?
Yeah. Like some of your lives, it may have been that, you instead of coming to Earth, you went to a different planet. I know that as you were asking that question, I was asking from a point of was that her last time being on Earth? But from that existence, you may have experienced a different solar system, a different form. It would not surprise me that you chose to take on a form. We call them alien here. I'm just going to keep it a blanket term like that. Something that is less emotional, more mental, more grief like that. You'd probably want to have a lifetime where you're disconnected from emotions because it can be really intense. Really intense. And there are some
Mm.
civilizations out there that they literally don't feel emotions. They don't
Yeah,
feel emotions.
that's
It's
so
all mental.
wild.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
also influence why for you it's like in my logical head that is so bizarre. I often think that there are some people like who are autistic, people who are on the spectrum that have had many lifetimes in other galaxies where emotions, understanding like what even like another person might feel like is a real foreign concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find people so fascinating. I
Yeah.
find the soul fascinating. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
So now that you have communicated with her and you have passed that message on to me, and I have a big old lesson to learn here in this lifetime, of which was, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in the other episode. So like, whoa, goosebump moment, because the message that she delivered to you that you relayed to me, I remember at the end of the reading saying to you, holy moly, babe. I literally wrote that in a journal, like those exact words of the lesson in a journal a month ago.
Massive.
So it was so wild. But now that you've connected with her and you've given that message to me, and I'm on my journey of healing,
A few days now, right? It's been over a week.
I think it's been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Um, what happens to her now? Like, is she just there? She might come,
No,
she might not. Like, what's happened to her now?
she may be there in moments where you are needing support with the abandonment. If she came through with her finger pointing and waving around the room, it wouldn't surprise me if there are moments where maybe you would maybe try to avoid the subject that she needed healing for. She might come into you, you might feel this like little nudge, like, stop ignoring that. Don't ignore that. Hey, don't ignore that. Like you need to defend yourself here, or you need to step up for yourself here. She might be that whispering ear. You know how like we get that gut feeling, like, "Oh, I shouldn't be doing this."
Oh, like all the time.
That might be her saying, just giving you that gentle little nudge to say, not this lifetime, not in this lifetime. No.
Is that what a gut feeling is?
Yeah, gut feelings really is your intuition, but where you're getting that internal message could be from a variety of different places. It could be you, your highest consciousness, previous lifetime. It could be loved ones on the other side trying to give you their message, and we pay more attention to that gut feeling because we don't have to over rationalize it. It's just, I don't know why I'm feeling this feeling in my gut, but my gut's telling me to do this. And I know it might sound crazy. People will listen to that a lot more. And that same can be said for when we have loved ones that visit us in our dreams. It's safer there because we can say, oh, it's just a dream. I must miss them a lot. And we can kind of brush it off. There are these, it's, if you're not ready to hear and see it and experience it fully, spirit knows how to cater for that for you to make it feel safe where you're not crazy, but you're also getting the message that you need.
Mm,
Yeah. Does that make
love that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't think I have any more questions for the moment.
I love it.
Anything that you feel like the listeners need to know about past lives that we have not covered?
Um, Well, I dare say that I'm probably going to get a lot of questions. How do we do a past life? What does it actually take? Yes, you and I can absolutely do a session. Does everybody need to go into past lives? No, you don't. You don't. Like, you don't need to know about all your past lives. I think that this lesson that you're here to learn in this lifetime is the most important lesson. And that there are just some times where, there is healing, further issues that are coming up in this lifetime that are directly affected because of previous lifetimes. So, yeah, not everybody needs to go look into their past lives. There are some people who want to know, but honestly, some of you guys, like, we have boring lives. Like, there are some lifetimes out there that are just freaking boring. Like, yeah, you're a teacher. Like, at one stage you were a janitor. This is what happened. This is how many kids you have. Like, that doesn't really light my life up. So I don't typically get those kinds of readings. The only time that I really talk about past lives is if it is important to the person in this lifetime now. Um, for example, like with yours. Now, the benefits of learning about your past lives, at least the benefits of what I received, because for so many years, I never saw the point. Like, why would people want to look at their past lives? You're here in this lifetime. Let's
Mm.
deal with what's on your plate in this lifetime. Because let me tell you, I don't know if you've been out there in the world or flicked on the news, there's a lot happening.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I feel like, and to be fair with you, when we went into the reading, I never told you what I wanted out of the reading, probably because I didn't know. But with the season of life I'm in right now, internally I was like, I don't want to speak to my grandparents. I don't want to, have all these dead people coming in. I just want to know about my future. Tell me about all the successful shit that's about to happen. Like that was where I was at.
Talk about me, not about them, just about me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Love that.
But I never told you that. So
No, but
so
it fits brief.
yeah,
It fits brief. We can have a
I
conversation with you.
I can see why she came. um, and I imagine that for a lot of people, they are probably similar. Like they just want to, look in the magic 8 ball and say, tell me what's next.
Yes. Yeah, no, I totally get that. And, I think that's why I do like to, I really try in every single reading to leverage the client to the best advantage that I can put them in.
Mm.
Whether that is shifting their perspective for the current challenges that are there here and now, I just feel like if somebody understands why they have to go down a certain journey and they might need a little bit of backstory or they might need a little bit of insight as to why that's going to be helpful in the future. In my experience, with over a decade worth of experience reading people one-on-one, that they've walked away feeling more empowered, feeling
Mm.
like they had more control, more awareness about how to use this to their advantage. And and I share that with people because that's how I leverage my own knowing about all my previous lifetimes. I'll give you an example. I've for the most part of my lifetimes, I've been a man. I have led wars, countless wars, which is why I'm so fiery, which is why I'm a leader, which is why I hate being told what to do. I have come in this incarnation right now to experience what it is like as a female. Now, one thing that I know about myself on a very deep level, understanding lots about my previous lifetimes, I have always pre-positioned myself to come into the body of whatever sex or gender is strongest in that lifetime. Every single time I look back, and I wasn't always a leader in wars and stuff like that, but for the most part, I was. Um, I was also a farmer. I also was a wife. I was also a homeless man. I was also somebody who lost her husband to war. I know that I have spent lots of my previous lifetimes in Iceland, Viking, so I got that fiery energy in me, many lifetimes as a Maori, which is why my mana, my wairua, my connection to the land is so deep, and my knowing, a real sense of knowing about things, not just remembering or learning. It's so deep within my soul because I've been doing this for so long. Um, Understanding your lifetimes is fantastic from that point, but the only reason that I believe that I remember so vividly about the path that I have walked before is because it's so important in the lifetime that I am living right now.
Yeah.
That, I'm going to be going down a journey that a lot of people are too scared to venture down. And that's going to take some really big fucking balls. Like, wait till you hear about some of the other stories that I'm going to tell you about my childhood and what I've experienced. And, and I can't wait to share with some experiences that I've had, even with clients, and some of the dark situations that I've, had the courage to put myself within for them. I
Mm,
am not afraid to go into the darkness to help people find the light, to pull them into the light. I'm not afraid to go and be a star in somebody else's dark season, because sometimes it's not a day, sometimes it's not a year, sometimes, it's a decade. So I feel like I really want to pay homage to season, because it's not forever, it's just for the moment. But,
mhm,
it's a lot of the spiritual journey is not for the faint of heart. You've really got to look at yourself. You've really got to do a lot of healing, a lot of self-development. There's so much in it. And I think that's what I love most about it, is that it's all interconnected. It's very fascinating to me. And I'm excited to bring spirituality in a way where we can really honor this ancient wisdom of the past and pull it into the present with more modern insights, with a more modern way of expressing uh, all of this sometimes confusing and scary journey that it can be when you are on your spiritual path.
mm,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Thanks, babe.
You're
I love
right. It's so deep. There's so many levels of this, which means there's so many episodes of your podcast.
Yeah, there's lots of seasons, lots. It's
Well,
great.
this was an episode where I am left feeling a combination of having more understanding and even more confused. So thank you.
Oh, I love that. And naturally, I'm like, what are you confused about?
Yeah, yeah.
Lots more questions. And welcome to Spirit, especially at the
Yeah.
beginning. It is very much like that. It's like, oh my God, like I'm in this mansion. There's all these rooms. I didn't even know how many layers,
Yeah.
levels there are to this mansion. They're just,
Literally,
I can
literally.
look up and see 4 levels, but we go over this wing and there's just a whole nother journey. And now there's a basement and tunnels. And yeah, so I love it.
Thanks for taking me on your spiritual journey, but also my own spiritual journey as well. This has been so fascinating since we've become friends, and I can't wait for our next catch up.
Yes, same. Thank you so much for accompanying me, allowing me to go on your journey with you. And stay tuned, folks. I have got a really cool episode coming next. And yeah, get ready for some spooky stories. I'd love to tell you that I'm running out, but I got plenty, plenty up my sleeve. Have a great day, folks, or evening, wherever it is that you're tuning in from. We'll see you at the next episode. Thanks for listening, guys. Bye.